What is up, everybody? Tuberverse here today, and we're gonna talk about this whole Aloy. I guess the internet memes and people are getting triggered about these memes, so they're taking stances against it. The most known is David Jaffe. He made a video about this as well about how people are talking about how Aloy is fat. Like, you've been seeing memes of this. You've been seeing pictures of this going around Aloy. People making memes like this, calling her fat. A lot of people are not too happy about that when it's like so I'm gonna read a few of these posts. Like, there's been a few memes. Like, it's been not only people making memes of her being fat, but it's like funny ones like this, or like, who is this? Jim Ryan as Aloy. Those been some funny memes nonstop since that Horizon Forbidden West reveal. They're just making memes nonstop. But there's talks about how, and I've been saying this too for the longest, about how, especially like in Western media, like Western game developers, how they are like making the female characters, especially like the protagonists, female protagonists, more unattractive. They're making them more unattractive, more masculine looking, more like not feminine looking whatsoever. It has definitely been a thing in Western media. Like, you can say that's a conspiracy theory. It's like a lot of people have been noticing this, and a lot of these developers are like a lot of these big game developers are like male feminists, especially like Neil Druckmann. So it's no surprise a lot that in this game, The Last of Us Part Two. I was like, I don't think any of them were more attractive in that game whatsoever. They were all like masculine and manly looking. So, um, it is a thing that people are talking about. It's like I noticed for the past, at least for a while now, I noticed that they've been doing that. So we're gonna talk about it. Like this post right here. This guy says, one day gamers will get female leads that don't match their sexual fantasies at effing break, but that's not today. So you're comparing PS4, how Halo looked on the PS4 era to the PS5, how she got a little bit fatter. They just made like a meme, a joke right here of this character as you look on PS6. Um, it was one comment I saw in this post I'm gonna talk about. She always had around his face. What was the post? What was that? Okay. So all these nerds saying negative S, I just want to see photos of their faces so I can judge and make memes. What the F is wrong with people? Women come in all shapes and sizes, and if people think Aloy is fat, boy, do I got news for them. And it's like, sure, all women come in shapes and sizes, but it's not like, why are we getting the most hideous looking women in video games as protagonists? The most hideous and manly looking women. That's always getting pushed nowadays in these video games. It's like it was it was a reason why the Lady D of Resident Evil Village, Capcom's newest game, broke the internet because you saw like an actual like full of a curvy woman with big breasts and a big butt be shown in a video game for such a long time that she actually broke the internet and people bought the game because of that character. The Capcom was using her for the marketing. Well, she wasn't even like a major character. She was a somewhat major character, but not the main character. But she got a big focus. The people thought the game was all about her, that character. So that's what I talk about with that. But let's get on another post I found too. How this post I saw too, they made Aloy more feminine looking. Like, she actually looks like a woman. She looks more attractive in this picture on the right. And then this guy says, is it me or somebody making their lead female protagonist look masculine as hell? Barely no curves or rough non-feminine features. Unlike the average woman, like Cough Cough, The Last of Us 2 Ellie, which Ellie looks like a man. She looks like a butch in The Last of Us 2. Just saying my 2 cents. Then you got Abby as well in The Last of Us 2, looks like a butch. She looks like a man too. Dina doesn't look that attractive. It's like a lot of these games I'm naming, like with Sony, the female protagonist of Returnal, she's a old lady who isn't attractive. It's just like these women are not attractive in these Sony games. And like these other companies, like Western companies, like Mortal Kombat, they got the cease and desist to stop making the female characters be half naked. But the male characters they can remain half naked, but not the female characters. The female characters have to be fully clothed now. Or like the what was that one game? The Dead or Alive franchise. The director had to make the game. He had to get rid of the boob jiggle physics or something like that because people were offended. Um, yeah, it's just weird. People were offended. That game was rated M anyway. Like, who cares? It's rated M. It's rated M for adults. It's like when people were offended about the same with Mortal Kombat too. That's the crazy thing about it too. It's like you can have all this brutality and all this violence in Mortal Kombat, but the boobs and the woman being half naked, that's a no-no. So it's just you can see this push for all these masculine looking women. It's like, oh, the woman have to be like fully clothed, but the men can be half naked. They can have 6 packs, 20 packs, biceps that can crush steel. The men can be like it's such a huge double standard. So this was David Jaffe's post. Regarding the complaint that PlayStation has an agenda to make female characters ugly, so he's defending that stance that hey, he's saying it's not an agenda, that you people are crazy, there's not an agenda, but I can see there's clearly an agenda with this. So let's get into the video.
There are these people saying that Sony and video game creators are pushing an agenda whenever they put women who don't look like supermodels in their video games. And
I was gonna pause right there too. He says like there's not these women who aren't supermodels, but you never see any male protagonists who aren't supermodels as well too. Like all these video games starring male protagonists, they all have six packs. They could be a guy who is an IT technician who watches anime and play video games all day, but he still has a six pack. So it is definitely double standards. And even when you look at real life, you look at these body positivity feminists, all these body positivity women, these real large, plus size, fat women, they all have these dudes, especially like these celebrity women, like the lady who did Precious, Gabby Sidibe, Lizzo, Tess Holiday, Amy Schumer. They all have all their boyfriends or husbands, all these real buff, muscular men, but they don't preach that same body positivity with fat men though. It's like the crazy thing. That's why I say all these people are hypocrites. But let's just continue. This is a side note I have to talk about, but let's get to the video.
it's probably the same people who are saying Sony and video game developers and the media is pushing an agenda when they include LGBT people and
See, I don't. Okay.
black people and whatever, Jews, Muslims.
I don't like when people start putting this other stuff in there. Like we're talking about like this, the I guess body positivity, how these women are just looking masculine, not feminine in the video games. Why are you putting this other stuff in, like LGBT and other races of people? Like, what does that have to do with the topic?
Anyone who's not like straight white cisgender is an agenda, and it's just like, what do these things have in common? It's like it's the
No, it's a clear agenda what we're talking about. Like, why are you throwing other stuff up in there? It's like nobody talking about different races. Nobody's talking about LGBT. We're talking about how they're making more women They're looking making more women in these video games masculine, and especially in Western game developers, while the Japanese ones aren't doing that to their video game characters, they're making them more feminine and look attractive. They're making them curvy. Like I remember that one game that was coming on Nintendo Switch that I did a news story about it this year about it was an indie game. It was like I think it was Cyberpunk, a ghost story or something like that, where it's like there was like it was like a anime like horror story game, anime as horror story indie game. When it's like the female protagonist had like big humongous breasts, and then let's say I had some older women who was like they're complaining to the developers, actually sending them death threats too, I believe. It was some crazy stuff like that, saying like, "Hey, why are you making a game like this? Why are you sexualizing these female characters?" Then the developer was like, "Hey, I'm a female. These women look like how I look with big breasts and a big butt." It was like, "Hey, why are you mad about this?" It's like the female artist was actually interpreting her how she looks in real life to this character, and then he had other older women was upset about that they tried to get the game removed from the Nintendo platform, the Nintendo Switch platform. It was originally on like the PC. So I remember that story. Like it's just like I don't understand. Like they just want these women just to be like just like flat chested and just like look super manly in these video games. I just don't get it.
craziest fucking thing that they don't see this. It's not an agenda unless you would say the agenda is inclusivity and fairness and kindness.
Okay, if that's true, why don't you see that like on the opposite end with the male characters though? I haven't seen like a fat a fat protagonist in a positive way. Sure, you got like fat characters, but they look usually like joke characters. Like in Street Fighter, you have like what is his name? Rufus. He's like the fat character in Street Fighter, but he's like a joke character. Nobody takes this guy serious whatsoever. Or you got Bob in Tekken. Everybody else has six packs in Tekken, but Bob is the only exception. He's like I think he's like a joke character too. So yeah, nobody takes the fat characters in games serious whatsoever. Especially when they're men. Like you never see, like he says, he preach always acceptance, but you never see the opposite. Like you don't see like a nerdy, lanky a main character as a man, or you don't see like a super short main character unless you want to see like Mario. But I don't really count Mario. Someone like actual realistic looking game. It's like this real short looking male character. You don't see that. It's always like this big tall guy with like a six pack and abs of steel and like biceps that can crush iron and crush boulders. So yeah.
To the whole goddamn world, Uh, Especially, what did they just come out with a stat the other day that like almost 50% of PS5 owners are women? Even if it was nothing but pure mercenary.
Okay, so you touched on the stat and didn't really go with it. Okay, so okay, what does that matter if there was like it's like a larger number of women are gaming? It was like 41% of people who own a PS4 are female gamers. So what does that matter? Like okay, like I said before with the Resident Evil thing, there was a lot of females that was thirsting over Lady Dimitrescu as well too. So I don't understand his point. As like women like hot female characters as well too. It's just like I think people are getting tired of seeing all these masculine looking female protagonists that we keep getting all these unattractive female characters. People are getting tired of that, and it's like, hey, we see that it's all an agenda here because it's only like Western developed studios doing this. People who identify as male feminists are doing this, like Neil Druckmann. We don't see Japanese studios doing this stuff.
Let's make money. Fine. Well, you've got half your audience is women. Maybe they're sick of seeing unrealistic portrayals of women in video games. Who the fuck knows? But it's not like you're, the vitriol that this decision always, kicks up, or decisions like this, assuming it is an agenda. I've never heard any kind of on high, like, you have to do this
You've been under
from
a rock,
management.
man. At
But
this point,
assuming that it even
lived under a
is, it's
rock.
like, I mean, that's like being upset that there's an agenda to feed starving people.
What
It's
does
like,
that have to do
oh,
with the topic?
my stars and garters, my Victorian sensibilities have been offended because suddenly there's an agenda out there to treat everybody with respect and equally. What a bunch of horseshit. I don't understand where these people were raised. What are their goddamn parents, man?
Now you want to raise probably because you can notice there's a clear agenda. You can notice the agenda, but now you want to raise properly. Okay. Yeah, he just kind of like he's just rambling on like the different subjects. Like I honestly just didn't stick with the same subject. He's like going like the different subjects in the video. But yeah, he made a whole video about this too. It was kind of more rambling, but you can listen to this video he did about it too, though. But yeah, um, I don't know what to say. It's kind of like yeah, like what is this? Dudes only want one kind of book, and it's disgusting hypocrites. Yeah, because they're like when women talk about the men they want, it's always like some dude like that looks like these right here, like always these buff dudes as well too. So I noticed this is hypocrisy. That's why you got channels like Kevin Samuels who's blowing up because he points out the hypocrisy in women, like how they want so much, how they won't they complain about all this body positivity stuff. But they'll want the men that's like pro body positivity as well too, who are fat. They just want these buff dudes that are like this. They just want the dudes like that. But yeah, so that's the video. I just found it strange how we took a joke about people were making jokes about the fat Aloy character, and now it's like a serious discussion people are having now. But it's like you don't care that the male characters are like they all super buff as well too. But now you're mad if you were pointed out the hypocrisy. So it is what it is. Definitely want to see your thoughts about this down below. Leave a like if you like this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and peace.